Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Today we have a Tier 8 battle on the estuary map, starring Martian 101 in the US Navy Tier 8 heavy cruiser, the USS Baltimore. The Baltimore, pennant number CA-68, was the lead ship of her own class of heavy cruisers, and the fifth ship of the US Navy, named after the city of Baltimore in the state of Maryland. She was launched on the 28th of July 1942, she was commissioned on the 15th of April 1943, fought all throughout the Pacific during the course of World War II, formed part of the American occupation force of Japan. In February 1946 she left Japan, returned to the USA, was decommissioned and placed into reserve on the 8th of July of that year at Bremerton in Washington State. However, a couple of years later she was once again recommissioned in 1951 and assigned to the US Navy Atlantic Fleet. In 1953 she represented the US Navy at the Fleet Review at Spithead in England, and on the 5th of January 1955 she was transferred back to the Pacific Fleet and then deployed with the 7th Fleet in the Far East between February and August of 1955. She was once again decommissioned and put into reserve at Bremerton on the 31st of May 1956, struck for the Navy List in February 1971, sold for scrap in September 1972. Her battle honours include the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 9 battle stars, the World War II Victory Medal, the Navy Occupation Medal, the National Defence Service Medal, but no battle honours for the Korean War, which is kind of strange because if you go to the Victorious War Museum in Pyongyang, North Korea, they have several exhibits that claim the Baltimore was sunk by North Korean motor torpedo boats on the 2nd of July 1950. Which is strange because she was decommissioned and in reserve at the time. Here you can see a picture of the exhibit from the North Korean Museum, claiming the sinking of the Baltimore, along with pictures of the motor torpedo boats that are supposed to have been responsible for it. There was actually a naval battle that took place between motor torpedo boats of the North Korean Navy and United Nations forces on that day, but the Baltimore had nothing to do with it because she was in reserve in the other side of the world at the time. That, of course, has never stopped North Korea claiming that they sank her, but what actually happened in the Battle of Jumonjin-chan, also known as the action of the 2nd of July 1950, was that USS Jeannot, HMS Black Swan, and HMS Jamaica, a Crown Colony class cruiser, in fact the sister ship of HMS Fiji, here at Tier 7 in World of Warships, did encounter a bunch of North Korean motor torpedo and gunboats escorting a group of ammunition ships, and handed them their arses, without suffering any damage in return. So I think you probably have to take any claims made by a museum that calls itself the Victorious War Museum in Pyongyang, North Korea. You should probably take those claims with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Meanwhile, I think that Atlanta up ahead is about to regret his very hasty decision to sail out into open water, yep, there it is, and start shooting at a whole bunch of battleships and heavy cruisers. Martian 101 is not going to be nearly as stupid as that, although it looks like the Leon on his starboard side fancies his chances. Well, good luck with that. One of the good things about the Baltimore, and there are lots of good things about the Baltimore, are the ballistics of the shells fired by its 8-inch guns. They're heavier weight shells, so they don't have nearly as ridiculously high a firing arc as, for example, the 152mm shells fired by the USS Cleveland, also at Tier 8. The arcs, however, are still high enough that you can hide behind an island in the Baltimore, although you have to stay a little further away from the kind of island that a Cleveland would be able to tuck itself up to, and still fire over it. And the arcs are flat enough that, unlike in the Cleveland, it's actually relatively easy in the Baltimore to hit a target at maximum range. Also, she's got a pretty fast reload, only 10 seconds. Martian is definitely making good use of the island on his port side there, allowing him to maybe finish off that. No, finished off by the North Carolina, wherever the hell the North Carolina is. Oh, yeah, that Leon is in all kinds of trouble. It's almost as if he didn't see what just happened to the Atlanta. It's almost, in fact, as if it's a better idea to stay here, where Martian 101 is, so that the Vladivostok, for example, can't pump 16-inch shells into your broadside, and you can basically, not have that happen to you. And instead, take on targets one at a time. like the Cleveland, and now that Trento. So many players who hate on the ocean map because it's completely featureless, there are no islands in it, and yet on every other map they play as if they're on the ocean map, and they never use the islands. You know, they're there for a very good reason. Try using them. Well, with the suicide of the Atlanta and the Leon, ooh, nice hits on the Trento with armor piercing at long range. Martian 101 is rapidly running out of teammates over here. There is a Pensacola off on his port side, on the far side of the island, who's also shooting at the Trento, who has now used his full-speed smokescreen. But remember, at Tier 6, it only lasts 25 seconds, so we'll be seeing the Trento again soon. Meanwhile, Martian 101 unloading on the enemy Pensacola off in the distance. And scoring a couple of hits. But no serious damage, and yep, the Trento's smokescreen is already starting to dissipate. He's popped up again. Shots out again at the Pensacola. This time, rewarded with a Citadel. Guns have already reloaded. A lovely fat broadside Trento to shoot at. Even more Citadels. The Trento, however, just has to survive this next salvo and he'll be in cover behind the island. Shots out. And he very nearly does not survive that salvo, but now it's all good. Or it would be all good if he just kept going. But instead, he thinks, oh, I was almost in cover there, I'd better turn around and let Martian 101 shoot at me again. And there's his first kill. What was going on there? Is there some kind of Tier 6 Italian cruiser mission to collect as many Citadel hits as possible? I don't know, but I'm really struggling to come up with an explanation that makes any kind of sense. To explain what it was that the Trento just... Oh, torpedoes. 12-kilometer range torpedoes. Yeah, that's it. He's trying to get the torpedoes away from the other side, wasn't he? He's obviously in training to be a Gneisenau captain. Yeah, that's it. It all makes perfect sense now. All he has to do is eat as many armor-piercing broadside Citadels as possible while trying to get his torpedoes away and hit targets at maximum range, and you keep that up for a few months and you'll grow up to be a Gneisenau. Meanwhile, the friendly Pensacola has gone down, although he has hurt the enemy Vladivostok, who so far hasn't actually been able to fire at Martian 101, and has just been finished off by the friendly carrier, the Indomitable. This is a double carrier game, by the way, although only one is Tier 8. Once again, Martian 101 using the island to his advantage. And they've managed to whittle down the number of enemies on the far side of it to just that Pensacola and the Chapayev. It has cost them 3 ships to do it, though, with 2 of them, the Atlanta and the Leon, just pointlessly throwing themselves away for nothing. Now, it's true to say that Martian 101 is kind of alone over here, because he's the only surface ship, but he is getting lots and lots of support from his carriers, and what the hell is going on? First the friendly Atlanta, then the enemy Trento, then the enemy Pensacola, and now the enemy Chapayev. Is there some kind of just general mid-tier cruiser mission to collect as many Citadel hits as possible? Although, to be completely fair, Martian 101 is given far too much broadside to that Chapayev as well. The Baltimore can angle very, very well and still fire all of its guns. He has taken a lot of unnecessary damage from the Chapayev, but his shells hit a lot harder than the Chapayev's, and his reload isn't that much slower. The Chapayev's turning. It looks like he's collected enough Citadels to complete the mission for today, but, well, too little too late. There you go. Have a couple of bonus Citadels on Martian. I have to be completely fair here. Martian did definitely take way more damage from that Chapayev than he needed to, which has put him at a distinct disadvantage now that this... well, he was full health a couple of seconds ago at least, except he just appears to have collected a couple of torpedoes and some high explosive shells, but he still has way more health than Martian does, and can easily kill him. Of course, Martian's got his location pinned with his radar, even though it's about to expire, but then again, well, he's shooting, he's spotted by aircraft, Martian knows exactly where he is, and the Helena, at best, only has a vague idea of where he is. Now, he has spotted him with his catapult fighters, but I don't think he put the catapult fighters up to detect Martian. he put the catapult fighters up to try to defend himself from the carriers who were attacking him. And the Helena has some of the best AA available at Tier 7. Just like the Baltimore has some of the best AA available at Tier 8. It's not making a lot of difference though, is it? As Martian plays chasey chasey, catchy catchy, kissy kissy around the island, what exactly is the Helena's plan here? It's as if he was so desperate to avoid getting into a fight with Martian 101, a fight that he should and could have easily won, that he sailed right around the island, straight into the guns of a Chapayev and a Megami, and the aircraft from 2 carriers. Now, call me a bluff old traditionalist if you must. I can't help but feel that that possibly wasn't the best available use of either the resources or the terrain at his disposal. Well, all 4 carriers are still in play, but the enemy team only have 2 surface combatants left, the Albemarle and the Leon. Martian's team have him in the Baltimore, just barely. He doesn't have a huge amount of health left. Both of the carriers, obviously, an Indomitable and a Ryujo, as well as a Megami and a Chapayev, although the Chapayev isn't doing too well for health, and looks like he's really taken it from the Kaga, who has been spotted at least. Although I think the enemy Albemarle over there, who's as good as on full health, is probably going to be a much, much bigger problem. Yeah, the Chapayev is getting spanked. On the bright side, most of the hits that Martian 101 has taken so far have either been armor piercing or semi-armor piercing. No high explosive, or very little high explosive. Which means that unless the AP and SAP scored direct hits against his AA mounts, most of it's probably still intact. Which is going to be good news considering he's got a Kaga to fight. See, the Kaga's a Tier 8 carrier, and there's the Albemarle. Yeah, the Chapayev definitely needs help against the Albemarle. But yeah, back to the Kaga for a second. He's a Tier 8 carrier, a premium, but he doesn't have Tier 8 aircraft. The aircraft are actually lower tier than the ship. On the other hand, it does get a lot of those aircraft. Big squadrons and lots of reserves. Which is kind of historically accurate because the Kaga did carry a very, very large air group. She was originally laid down as a battleship and converted to a carrier. And it looks like the Kaga is actually going for Martian now with the torpedo bombers. Yep, here they come from the front. And too close for the torpedoes to arm, which is nice. You'll note that the Kaga's torpedo bombers are unusual in that they drop a pattern of 4 torpedoes rather than 3, something that you also get on the Saipan. You just, you have to drop them far enough away that they actually have time to arm before they hit the target. It's not difficult, however, as you can see, to shoot down Kaga aircraft, because they are lower tier than the carrier itself. They just have so many of them in each attacking squadron. But even without defensive AA, because really, who uses defensive AA? I mean, really, does anybody use defensive AA? But even without it, it's not difficult to slaughter huge numbers of Kaga aircraft. And there it... Oh, actually, no, that's the Ranger. How do you guys not see the Baltimore coming around the corner? You had him spotted with your aircraft. One of you was attacking him. 3 enemies left. They've got this in the bag. 3 against 5. Except the Chapayev. Yeah. Now, what to do? Because the Kaga is definitely... Well, actually, he's just sitting there. I mean, I know this thing was based on a battleship, so it does have heavier armour than you'd expect for an aircraft carrier. And also has a lot of secondaries, although the range on them is absolutely terrible. But there's an island right there. Right next to where the Ranger got sunk. And it looks like the Ranger, at least, was trying to get into cover behind the island, but the Kaga? Nope. He's just sitting there tanking it. I mean, I know you're fairly tough, but you're not that tough. You could easily kill Martian's Baltimore. You just need time to do it, and you could buy that time if you were, I don't know, out of line of sight, and not dropping the torpedoes from directly ahead, too close to arm again. I think I know what's happening here. Do you get the impression that that's a guy who thought, I should give aircraft carriers a try? Now, I could grind my way up from tier 4, but ain't nobody got time for that. I'll just buy myself a tier 8 premium. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. There's a bit of a good news, bad news situation going on here, of course, as Martian quickly scans around to check the location of the enemy Leon and the enemy Albemarle. But I like his decision to come and chase the cargo down, even though the cargo should really have been able to kill him. But going after the cargo has made him safe from attack from the Leon and the Albemarle. So he's fighting 1-on-1 rather than 3-on-1 or 2-on-1, which is the best that he could possibly hope for under the circumstances given the low amount of health that he has. Even so, despite his strong AA, a Baltimore on this amount of health should not be able to kill a cargo. Unless the cargo, of course, doesn't realise that he's an aircraft carrier and not a landing strip, and just kind of sits there. But he did. So, what can you do? Yeah. There's a free air defence expert medal. Now then, it's 2-on-2. The friendly Ryujo has gone down, but he's done a lot of damage to the Leon over there in the process. And the Albemarle is sitting in the cap circle, but he's being constantly reset by the Indomitable. And the Indomitable is actually doing a large amount of damage to him. So, Martian, what you need to do now is just sit tight in this cap circle. Because this isn't a domination battle, this is standard battle, so whoever caps first wins. And as long as the Indomitable is still in play, and he is, there's no way that Albemarle is going to be allowed to cap. Now the Leon really should be coming back here in order to reset Martian and probably kill him. But he's not. He's chasing the enemy carrier as well, or at least attempting, to reinforce the Albemarle in the cap circle, except the Albemarle has now left the cap circle. Which, honestly, I don't think he really had much of a choice, because he needs to kill the Indomitable. He can't just sit in the cap circle, because if he does, well, I don't think it's made any difference, because the Indomitable has actually killed him. That just leaves the Leon on the enemy team, who's now going to come under concentrated air attack. And as long as Martian basically does nothing, that's all he has to do. He just has to sit here, although he's getting as close to the island up ahead as possible, just in case, by some miracle, he does get spotted by the Leon, possibly by the Albemarle's spotter plane, although it's unlikely at that kind of range. But even if he were to get spotted, there's no way the Leon's going to be able to fire over that mountain range. So all he has to do is sit tight in this cap circle and basically do nothing. Leave the Indomitable to it, and he's won this game. Now you might be thinking, well, that seems fairly obvious, Jingles. Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd be appalled, absolutely horrified at the number of times players have been in exactly this situation, and they've left the cap circle to go chasing after that last kill. Oh, hang on a second. The cargo managed to get a squadron aloft. Can he snatch victory with his zombie torpedo bombers? Based on previous evidence, I don't think it's too likely. Nope. That was their last chance, really. But the Leon, even though Martian was spotted, with that mountain range in the way, there was nothing he could do about it. He couldn't get shots over it. And so that is an extremely well-deserved victory for Martian 101 in the USS Baltimore, US Navy Tier 8 heavy cruiser, with a Kraken Unleashed, high caliber, and an air defense expert award that was basically handed to him on a silver plate by the cargo. Special mention, of course, has to go to, well, both of the carriers on Martian's team, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, yes, the Indomitable kind of stole the show towards the end, and without the Indomitable, there's no way Martian 101 would have won that, but the Ryujo made the most of a bad situation, tier 6 carrier in a tier 8 game, and I think he put up a very creditable performance as well, so well done to both of them. That's it for today. I do hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.